Hey, Stacy here, and welcome to Miss Stacy Teaches. I thought I would do a little mini lesson on some spelling rules that you probably already know, but maybe hadn't put the words to it yet. See, English is a tough language to learn, but once you've accomplished it, trying to teach your kids how to do it can be tricky because a lot of times as we're learning, we don't remember what they did to teach us. So what I'm hoping this will do for you mamas out there is to remind you of a rule, I say that with bunny ears, a guideline that tends to happen in spelling that you might be able to help your kids with. All right, so what we're going to talk about is the FLOSS rule, F-L-O-S-S. Now, it's not really FLOSS, it really is the FLS rule. And it states that in a single syllable word, where the vowel is short, we often double the last consonant. Now, it just so happens that the most common consonants are F, L, and S. So you see this in words like bell, and tell, and smell, and that whole family. You see it in words like off and doff, like to doff your cap, fluff, cuff. There's those double F's. And then in S's, you have words like toss and, oh, I have more somewhere here. Confess, bless, bliss, kiss, all of those have double S's on them. I like to add Z to this because there's quite a few Z words, and because often I'm teaching middle school students, and I don't know if you know about middle school students, but they are learning their boundaries and they really like to throw out words that they think you didn't catch. So words like buzz and fizz and jazz, those all follow that same single syllable word. The vowel is short. We double that last F, that last letter, specifically consonant. Now, it's not just F, L, S, and Z. You also have words like ebb and egg and in. Those also have double consonants at the end for the same reason. But it doesn't always work. And there's a couple of them that don't work on this guideline, this FLOSS guideline, but they work on one that's just kind of adjacent to it. There's another rule that says in a single syllable word, a vowel might say its name, and I hate it when they do that. They'll say its name. It'll say its long sound, or it'll say, I mean, it says its name, but still I don't like doing that. I like to say it's the second sound. In a single syllable word with two consonants at the end, the vowel will often say the second sound of that syllable. And this is where you're going to get words like kind and mind, toll and poll, like a toll on a tollway, or a poll like you would take a political poll. This follows a rule, and you'll find these words all over the place. I want to give you a good example of a word that can be pronounced under each rule. Wind has a short vowel sound in front of those two consonants. Wind has a long vowel sound in front of those two consonants. Now, before you throw the baby out with the bathwater, I know that spelling the English language can be tricky because we grab these other rules from all these other places and then we throw exceptions on them. But realize that they've done some studies, and since standardization, something like 85 to 90% of our words fall under that standardization. So even though there's exceptions to the standardization, if you learn the standardization, it's easier to pick out the 85 to 90%. And I would rather know the 85 to 90% than worry too much about the exceptions. Besides, some of the exceptions are just funny. Like the word all, for instance, and that whole family, ball and small, and that's all I can think of because of my camera. But that A sound is not saying the short sound, ah, and it's not saying the long sound, A. It's saying the third sound, ah. A actually very commonly says three different sounds. It'll say ah, a, or ah. In the word all, it kind of falls under the FLS rule in that we do double the L on that. But it doesn't because it doesn't say the first sound. It's not a short sound. it's not really a long sound. It's actually this weird third sound that we say. So it kind of shimmies in between, and it's an exception to both. So let's go over those rules again, just so that as you start finding words, you can start gathering them. The first rule says that if we have a single syllable word with a short vowel, you're going to double the last consonant. The second rule says if you have a single syllable word and the last two letters are consonants, not necessarily double, but consonants, your vowel is going to say its second sound. And then, of course, we have all these exceptions. Now, I do want to throw in a couple more exceptions because, especially if you're teaching younger kids, they've learned this when they were reading. Words like gas and if. Those words we don't double, and you're just going to have to learn them. And usually, by the time they're really into spelling, they have learned them. But I wanted to mention those. And I also want to mention the words that end in S but sound like Z. So has, was, his, we don't double that S. If it sounds like a Z at the end, it's not doubled. And it ends in an S, it's not doubled. All right. Have fun.